Hi guys, welcome back. These are some of the dies from the Spellbinders Advent Calendar from 2023. So I'm going to use day 6 and day 8, which are these mushrooms, and the banner from day 11 to create just a very simple card. So I've done all the die cutting and I've used some mixed media card stock, just to die cut those pieces out. I'm also using day 13, which is a happy birthday stamp set. So I'll be using the happy birthday from that. And then I'm also going to use the stencils that came in this kit from day 7, which is a 3-layer stencil set. So I worked the size of the card around the size of the stencil, and you'll see that in a minute. The other thing that I've got that's new to me is the stamp wheel. But I just bought the stamp wheel sticky grid. So it's the ultra sticky. So I think there's a light version as well. And basically what I'm going to do is use it to stick it to, you see it just clings to yourself. It's basically photopolymer. And I'm going to use that to stick my pieces to so that I can do some inking and ink blending and that sort of thing. Just holds it in place. I didn't actually take the backer off it, so it didn't, you'll see it moves around a bit, which I should have just made it, taken the backer off so it could cling to my glass media mat, but I didn't think that far. So, and also the stencil is actually a little smaller than my piece of cardstock, so it's holding the cardstock in place, but I still need to hold the stencil. But the idea is that your cardstock would be smaller than your larger stencils, and then the stencil would just cling to, the edges would cling to the sticky grid mat. Waffle Flower have some media mats, are they called? I'm not sure, but it's the same idea. So I started with stencil 1 with some saltwater taffy distress ink, in just the normal distress ink, so not an oxide. And what I then am doing is just lining that up. The pattern's really easy to line up, but there are some little holes in the 4 corners, so you could mark your cardstock with those holes so that you can see where to add each one, if that makes sense. So this is what I then decided to do, because I knew it was just going to go wrong. So I just marked the 4 corners, and now I can just line up each of the 4 holes in the stencil with the pencil marks I've made through those holes, and then ink up the next layer. Especially that it didn't stick to, because it was smaller than the piece of cardstock, it wasn't going to stick to or cling to the sticky grid. So the next colour I decided to go with was Twisted Citron, which I love. Twisted Citron. I absolutely love Twisted Citron and Mowed Lawn together are my 2 favourite greens for especially a springy kind of card, which this kind of looks like, even though it's a birthday card. But yeah, I don't know. This one, I really loved how it turned out. So yeah. So for the third stencil, I'm using Shaded Lilac. So all of these colours are kind of rainbowy, but in either, I want to say brighter, but also pastel-y. I know that doesn't make sense, but you'll see they just work really well together. And so I've got Shaded Lilac, which is the third stencil that I'm going to add on here. And all 3 of these I just did with some blending brushes. So really, really straightforward, easy peasy. You guys can do this. So once I've done that, you can see my little, when I can get it off the grid, my little, it's like a geometric pattern that's going to be in the background. So then I just remember to erase your pencil marks that you made for the stencil in the corners. Just remember to take it off, unless you're going to cut your piece of cardstock smaller, then that's obviously you don't have to worry too much then. But I'd already pre-planned the size of the card and the cardstock, so I wanted to make sure that I didn't have those marks on there. So I started off using just a normal eraser, and it didn't work so well, so I used my Tombow sand eraser instead, and it worked fine. So when in doubt, get your sand eraser out. So while I've got my sticky grid out, I'm just going to take the stamp from the Happy Birthday little stamp set, and I'm using some VersaFine Onyx Black ink just to stamp straight onto the banner that I'd already die cut out. I just thought this was simpler to have it stuck on there and then stamp it. If you've got a stamp positioner, you can obviously use that as well. This just made sense while I was doing this. I also noticed that I didn't stamp it very well, so I kind of over stamped it, and thankfully it worked. So otherwise I would have had to die cut again and re-stamp it, but it worked. I managed to line them up enough, but that's like risky business that is, if you don't have a stamp positioner. So I just got lucky basically. So what I decided to do, now that the stenciled piece has dried a little bit, I'm going to take the same 3 colours and I'm just going to pop them onto my mixed medium glass mat, and I am going to take some water and just use a smallish paintbrush and just flick the same colours onto the piece. It just sort of helps to tie everything in and gives it a little bit of a distressed, splattered, however you want to say it, thing. And it all those little details will add to your overall card or project once you finish it off. So just sort of rolling the paint. I don't even think I wiped the paintbrush off in between. I just kind of went with it. I figured they'll work. It's fine. And it does, and it's very subtle, and this is where I say it kind of looks a bit pastel, but it really is lovely, and I love how this card turned out. I'm not a total like graphic kind of person, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not into graphic patterns too often, but because I have all the Advent calendar dies and stamps and stencils and embossing folders in there as well, I thought I wanted to showcase those in case you guys needed ideas if you had the same Advent calendar from last year. And it's the first artsy-fartsy one I've actually ever had. So I actually bought my mum one, so she's got one too, so this will give her some ideas. So once I had finished the background, I then popped all the pieces onto the sticky grid, and because it's like what it is, like a photopolymer, it will just stick. They'll kind of cling. So I knew which ones. I kind of grouped them. I know it doesn't really look like that there, but I kind of grouped them according to the colors I was going to use to be able to ink them up. So for the mushroom top, I bought in Abandoned Coral. Again, sort of more on the lighter, more pastel side of things, but still sort of a bit more like bright and fun and funky kind of thing, but not so like they're more bright colors rather than that sort of rich, deep kind of thing, if that makes any sense. Anyway, so the mushroom tops got Abandoned Coral. I'm using pumice stone distressing. These are all the distressings, not the oxides. I think I said that earlier on, but I'm just using these ones. And again, just going over going over the mushroom, like the stalks and the bit that goes underneath the large mushroom. It's got those like frilly bits underneath the mushroom head. And that's what I used that colour for. Then I'm taking some Twisted Citron again, and it's going to be for the little grassy pieces. I just die cut that a few times. And this is very basic kind of colouring, like or ink blending. There's nothing too strenuous here. So just deciding what colour to make my tortoise. And I think I cannot remember what I went with. It's been a while. But let's see which one I pick up here. See, decisions. So Squeezed Lemonade I went with for part of the tortoise. And so I'm doing his body. So this will be his legs and his head. And then I will come in, I think I used the shaded lilac for the rest of his shell and that, because I thought, why not? You've got to have a purple and yellow tortoise, right? Well, we do now. And then his, like, part of his eyeball, I decided to make in the salty ocean. So I basically picked a few colours. I added a couple more in, but I started with a sort of 5 colours? Yeah, 5 sort of rainbowy colours to try and add all the colours in. And I wanted to make sure I actually used all the colours, if that makes sense. So all my pieces are put together now. Not put together, inked up now. And I'm going to spritz, well, it's not spritz, my distress spray is clogged. so I'm taking the nozzle out of the bottle and flicking water onto it. That worked just as well. I wanted that sort of, just a bit of added texture and distress thing that you can get from distress inks, which is so awesome. So now that I've spritzed them, I'm going to, or flicked them, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to take them all off there and just clean up my grid mat and put that away. And then we'll start to put these guys together. I nearly said I nearly blow dried them, but I didn't blow dry them. Don't blow dry them. I think I used my heat tool to try and dry them off a bit, just to help speed the process along, because otherwise I do not have the patience. So, and there are some pieces that I left white on purpose. So those pieces off to the left, to the right, are sort of like what will go underneath the mushroom, and part of the eyeball are what will go. What I left as white pieces. So now to get these pieces stuck together, we're going to take some just some craft glue. I had this in a fine applicator bottle, which always gives me jip. So I'm pretty sure I swapped over to just a normal one in a minute, which works just as well. But this did, they always get clogged. It drives me insane. Whereas some of the bigger ones just don't. So even though the pin's there and I unclog it numerous times, I always seem to have a fight with it. Anyway, so the big mushroom has the backer piece, which is, for me, is the white. And then it has, I put the red top on, so it shows the white spots through. And then the frilly bit that's underneath the mushroom is what I then, I put on there and sort of left a little bit of the red showing through at the base of it. So it looks more 3D. It's very, very cute. So it did that. The two little ones, I mean, I cut 2. There's one die, but I cut 2 of them out. They are... they don't have like the frilly bit, so this is just like the top, almost like the cap, I guess, of the mushroom. Is that what it's called? I don't know. Yeah, see, having trouble with the old glue. So I just popped them straight on top, and again there's a white piece behind, so it shows the little like the spots, if you like, on the mushrooms come through that way, which is very cute. And for these mushrooms, I popped them on and then just angled them. I angled them a different direction for each one, just so that it looked like they were slightly tilted, and that just gives it a little bit more character. So for the tortoise, I keep wanting to call it a turtle. For the tortoise, I'm just popping his little shell together. It is really, really cute, and it's very easy to put together. And you could really make this a multicolored little dude. I did reference the basically on the door of each of the Advent numbers, if you like. At the back of the door, if it was something that you could make something with, so like the dies, it would give you a reference as to what they're supposed to look like. So that was really handy. So I was referencing the the tortoise because, well, when I do these things on camera, I do them for the first time with you guys. So sometimes I don't always get them in the right place. But it is really quite easy to put together. And this, for me, is such a cool way to colour your cardstock. If you don't have, you know, a lot of different coloured cardstocks, or you've got coloured cardstock but they don't quite marry up together, so they don't sort of, you're not sure if they work with the right tones and things like that, if that makes sense, then just colour them in yourself. You know, you can use pencils, you can use alcohol markers, you know, watercolour markers, or ink like we have today. You can do anything like that with your paper pieces and just with your die cuts, and then just adhere them all together, and they will give you a different look depending on what you've done with them, like with whether it's ink or markers or whatever it is. But it'll make it's an easy way to get colour onto your cardstock if you don't have a ton of coloured cardstock, if that makes sense. And it's also much cheaper to do it that way in some way. I mean, you have to have the supplies, but it's much cheaper than buying all the different colour cardstocks. That's what I'm trying to say. So now that I've got them stuck together, and still having trouble with my glue. So now that I've got them stuck together, I'm going to basically create a little mini scene on this graphic background. So I pop my main, the big mushroom on first, and then I'm going to just sort of layer where I want the other little mushrooms to go, and then eventually the little tortoise will fit in there as well. And it's really not something, as a scene goes, that I would have naturally done, because of the graphic bit in the background. I would have normally have done like a sky scene, or with a bit of grass, and you've seen me do those a load of times. This is very different for me. But I really like it, and it was really easy. It wasn't the quickest card because you've got to ink all the pieces, but it was really easy to do, and I just think it's a very, very cool look, and I was quite chuffed. So what I decided to do with the little tortoise dude is pop him up, because there's nothing else popped up at all. Everything else is stuck down flat. This panel is gonna go onto the card flat as well, so there's no dimension other than the little tortoise dude. So what I did was I also just positioned the foam pieces, making sure that they don't clash too much with the layers of cardstock underneath where the mushrooms are, so that it lies as level as possible. So it's quite easy to do, but you just have to kind of fiddle and faff sometimes to get it to sit where you want it. And then I also added a few extra pieces, like for the I think I did under his head, and I think I did his feet as well, his little legs. And then this extra piece of grass I decided was going behind him, so I was able to pop that up behind there, so it just looks like he's having a little wander in amongst all these mushrooms. I just think it's cute. So my happy birthday, I also decided that needed some ink on it. So before I do anything, I'm taking the Salty Ocean Distress ink again, not really doing any major inking or anything, or blending, just to get some colour onto it, because it just looked like it stood out kind of funny. And then I will add some foam adhesive to that as well, so that we can pop that onto the card front. And this was where I was just having a mad 5 minutes trying to work out where I liked it best. And I'm pretty sure I put it at the top, but we'll see that in a second. So I'm just going to pop that on really easily with the same foam adhesive. And I do put a billion different foam dots, whatever you want to call them. I do put a whole bunch of them on there. I can't help it. And I'm going to pop that straight on there. You've got the lines of the like gridded type of pattern in the background, so it helps you line them up. And all I did was I then stuck it to a piece of black cardstock and then onto a little I think it's a 4¼ by 4¼ squared card. I used a glaze pen in black just for his eyeball, just to make it stand out a bit more. And that's it, guys. And I love it. I think it's such a nice way to create something out of ink and paper. That's all it is. So until next time, guys, I will see you, and yeah, check back for more. Bye for now.